CJ here with KLRE, and I am here today with Julie Strecker. We're going to take some time to learn more about who she is and learn how she has become such a successful agent here at KLRE. I'm excited for our time together, so let's jump right in.
Sounds good.
Julie Strecker, where are you from? Where did you grow up?
Oh, that's a long answer. So my dad worked for the railroad. I was born in St. Paul. Moved to Kansas for 3 years when I was 5. Came back, lived in Fridley from 4th grade to freshman year. And then we moved to Naperville, Illinois, which is where I graduated high school. And I've been back in the Twin Cities since about a year after high school.
Get out of here. I don't know if I've never made this Fridley connection. You know, Chris
Yeah.
and I went
I
to Fridley High School.
I probably babysat you guys. No, I was way ahead of you. But yes, I was at Fridley. I was a Tiger cheerleader my freshman year.
Get out of here. Go Tigers. I won't ask you what year you graduated, but my sister graduated from there too.
Oh, did she?
91. T-Rex cookies. A little plug for Tina Castillejos.
Yeah.
T-Cast cookies doesn't sound cool. But
So
T-Rex, Tina Rexing, that's where T-Rex cookies is from.
91, I think. I can't remember if my brother did 91 or 92, but my brother would have been probably in her class or right around her.
Small world, but tell me more about the railroad. Your dad, I can't say I've heard that in conversation. Like, well, my dad worked for the railroad.
Right?
Like, what does that even mean?
He worked for Burlington Northern, which became Burlington Northern Santa Fe. And he took care of all of their safety training. We moved a lot because you work where the railroad sends you.
Did he wear overalls?
No.
Like a little hat?
He did not.
No,
He wore a suit. He was in the office. I actually have a video of him teaching people how to use a VCR when they came out.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
I was picturing like the overalls with the matching
I know.
hat.
He wasn't an engineer. He was a trainer.
Okay. It's still interesting though.
Yeah.
Okay, but it moved you around.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hence, I'm not shy and I talk a lot.
So, and then you graduated, you said, from
Naperville, Illinois.
And then what brought you back to Minnesota?
My dad actually got transferred again a year after I graduated high school, and I wasn't in college at that time, so I came back with them.
Okay, what did you do when you moved back then?
I worked for a while. I had started at Domino's when I was 16, and I worked for a franchise there, and I was like, the day I turned 18, they made me a manager. And when I moved up here, I started to work for Domino's, but it was corporate and it was a little different. But yeah, I jumped around to some restaurants. I got a job at Farmers Insurance because my car got stolen. I get jobs for really weird reasons, but my car got stolen and I was really organized with all my paperwork, and the agent's secretary was quitting, so he hired me.
Get out of here.
Just weird. And so then I got some experience in the office. So then I actually did go back. I went to Minnesota School of Business and got my associates in business administration.
This is after you started working for the insurance company.
Yeah. It was I was in my mid-20s when I went back to college. So, or I went to college, not back. I never went the first time. But so I got a business administrative degree, and then I bounced back and forth a lot between restaurants and office because I like both atmospheres.
What other restaurants other than Domino's?
Chipotle. Managed Chipotle for about 3 years.
Get out.
And
which one?
It was Coon Rapids, which isn't a good one now, but when I was there, it was the second busiest store in the Twin Cities.
So success just has followed you.
I guess.
You're like, Domino's, 18, you're going to be managing this place.
Oh, yeah. The franchise owner, he constantly, when do you turn 18? When do you turn 18? Okay. He was like, I want to give you a store.
I'm beginning to see a theme here. So then Chipotle, what else?
And then I worked for my brother for a while. He needed some help. He has an appliance repair company.
Okay.
So I worked helping get his office organized because he was having some issues. That did not last long. It's not good to work with siblings.
Okay.
And then I worked for a roofing company for a while. And then I got my job at Kleinman, which is where I was before here. Okay. And I was there for 10 years. Then I stopped jumping. And that was a property management company.
Okay.
And I worked in the corporate office. I started out basically, I took a receptionist position, but then I was office manager within 6 months.
So with these job transitions, it sounds like some of the jobs were pursuing you.
Yes,
most of them. And most of them. And so what has led to the transitions? Are you just like, oh, someone says, hey, you should do this. And you're like, oh, okay, let me just leave this. Or talk to me more about how you've, because they're not even connected, like Domino's and insurance. No. But
no.
your path is pretty interesting.
Yeah. So 9 times out of 10, when I moved, like it would be somebody that needed help, saw that I could provide some kind of help. So they lured me with more pay or this or that makes you go, yeah, maybe I should do that. When I did get my job at Kleinman, that one actually, I had been laid off from a roofing company that was going out of business. So I was unemployed for a couple months, freaking out. And that's why I took the receptionist position. I'm like, right now, I just need an income. But then I ended up being there 10 years. So that's the only
10
job.
years.
10 years.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only job that I really like interviewed and went and got on my own that didn't come and ask me to come to them.
How did that feel going from, jobs and people pursuing you, seeing potential to that 2 months of, hey, I have to just figure something out?
It was terrifying because I had just bought my first house as a single female, and I bought a duplex, and I'd had that for 3 months, and I got laid off.
Okay.
Terrifying.
Did you buy that in knowing that you'd want to rent out half of it, so you had some idea?
I had a friend renting the other side. So I did have a little bit of income coming from my rent, but not enough to like survive off of.
Okay.
And I don't do well sitting still. Like I can't not work. I always joke about, I'm going to be lazy this week and then I'll pick up 20 leads because I don't know how to not do anything.
Okay.
So I was hitting the pavement trying to find a job. And back then, when you were on unemployment, you actually had to go meet with an unemployment person to like talk to you about writing resumes and stuff. So I came into the office to meet with her and I showed her I had 5 different versions of resumes depending on what type of job I was applying for and this and that. And she's like, well, normally at this point, I recommend you go to this training class to learn about interviewing and resumes. But now I'm thinking that maybe you should teach it.
So then there again, a job pursuing you, like, hey.
Yeah, I was like, oh, well, I don't want to teach that, but I'll find a job. And so, yeah, and then I did and moved up through the ranks. I ended up basically right hand to the CEO at Kleinman. And I was jack of all trades. I did everything. I handled our IT stuff, which don't ask me to handle IT stuff. I was pretending my way through that.
Yeah.
But, all of our legal stuff, I dealt with clients and tenants and training staff and planning events. I mean, if it needed to be done, they threw it on my desk. So
I'm seeing a theme throughout just your pathway and your careers and your jobs. But it also sounds like you've been preparing for opportunities. And it sounds like there's a fair amount of drive, even when things aren't kind of the way that you planned.
Yeah.
You prepared a bunch of resumes.
Right.
Different options.
Right.
Like, people don't do that. People sit there and they complain and they just say, I got overlooked for this. And they sit in this space where they're waiting for everyone else to change and for everyone else to notice them.
Yeah.
But for you, it's like you just do your thing and people notice.
Yeah.
Where did you get that type of drive?
It's an excellent question. I really don't know. I mean, obviously it's got to come from my parents just in general, like, the way they raised me, but I don't know. I said, and part of it, it's almost like I always feel like I'm faking my way through it. I'm terrified inside, nervous as all get up, but you got to get it done. And so that's, I think.
So there has to be a pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm that type of thing. Anytime there's a crisis or an issue, like my defense mechanism is to take charge. And I just like, okay, we got to do this first, and we got to do that, and we got to do this next. Yeah. And I just automatically I have to take control of the situation. So I guess you could say I'm a little bit of a control freak.
That's don't apologize to her. Let's just figure out where that came from.
I said that proudly.
I think it's really interesting, and this is part of the reason why we do these interviews is to figure out what do you have at your core that we can gift other people that are even listening or watching.
Right.
And so this work ethic, I mean, you talked about your dad. Yeah, talk about growing up. Did you have siblings?
Yes.
And your mom in the picture?
Yep.
Okay.
Parents are still married to today. They're on like their 53rd wedding anniversary. Okay. I have three siblings, so they're all older than me, 5, 7, and 9 years older than me. So I was the baby.
Okay.
By quite a bit.
All right.
So I had a life as a sibling, and then they all had moved out, and I was an only child all through high school. We moved to Illinois, and my siblings didn't come with us.
Okay.
So I was an only child basically through high school. So I have kind of like the personality of both sides of that. But yeah, I just have always been somebody when I want something, I don't like being told I can't have it.
Okay.
So I will find a way to get
And
it.
even if you don't want it, if someone says you can't have it, you're like, maybe I want
it's
that.
almost, yeah, you can almost trick me into things just by saying,
Like,
you can't have that, Julie.
Hey, have you ever thought about working for this insurance company? Actually, no, but now that you say that. So talk about growing up with your dad and your mom. Was your mom working, or was she?
Yep. She worked for Medtronic.
Okay.
She ended up retiring. She was the administrative assistant to the vice president of Medtronic.
Okay.
So, So she worked most of my life.
Which was also started in Fridley. I don't know if you knew that.
Yes. And she started here in Fridley. She worked at the
Did
one
she
off
start
of...
Did she start at the original?
Yeah.
Off of Old Central?
Yes. And then when we moved to Naperville, she was in a remote office there. They didn't really have much of Medtronic in that area, but she basically sat in an office by herself and oversaw 2 or 3 salespeople that did some promotions in that area. So they gave her a remote office in Naperville. Okay. And then when we moved back to Minnesota, she went back to...
This is before the internet.
Yes. Oh, yes.
So this is very trustworthy.
Remote office with fax machines.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
And and then when they built the new corporate headquarters in Fridley, she moved there, obviously.
So you've seen hard work in your family. You've seen it with your dad in the railroad and your mom with Medtronic.
Yep.
And, as the youngest, did you feel like you had to prove anything to anybody, or was it just, hey, it was modeled for me, so I'm going to do that?
Maybe a little bit of both, I maybe would say.
Yeah.
It just never was, when I was growing up, it was never an option to skip school, or it was never an option to not go to work because you didn't feel like going into work that day. So I just, that has never been a mindset of mine that's ever been an option.
Yeah.
So I just do it without thinking about it. If I make a commitment, I show up for my commitment. Mm-hmm. And if I don't, I feel terrible for... I'm never late to anything. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, you were earlier than
I was super early today. I know. I'm just So
you have a standard of excellence that is driving your success.
Yeah.
Which is great. And I've seen it. It sounds like it was modeled for you with your parents. Your siblings, what kind of path did you observe them take, and how might have that shaped where you're at? My
oldest sister went into the military. Okay. She went into the Navy to get a scholarship. So she did have a 4-year college degree and then did the Navy for 4 years. Met her husband in college. He's in the Navy too. Actually, he just retired. She's been on and off at-home mom, part-time school teacher. They just retired, so they are moving into a motorhome to live for several years. It's so weird. But she was a very active at-home mom. She has 2 kids, and they were always at museums or doing, artwork things. I mean, they just a very hands-on, they didn't just sit home and watch TV all day. These kids were always doing something. My other sister worked for most of her life when she did get married and had kids, quit her job and became an at-home mom too. Mm-hmm. But same thing, she runs the household. My brother runs his own company. He has an appliance repair company, and they also do refurbishing of old appliances and sell and resale on that stuff. And he's had that business since I was in my mid to late 20s. So that was the business I came in and helped him organize his office.
How long were you there?
Just shy of 2 years. It was a short stint.
I won't pry anymore there.
No.
There might be some stories.
Yeah,
we have to edit out.
My brother and I have butted heads since we were kids. I don't even know why we thought we should
work
together.
I was gonna say, you thought hey, this will be a good idea.
Yes.
Just therapy and working at the same time. Let's just.
Oh, we always have a difference of opinion, and we'll just go at each other. So it's pretty interesting.
Well, and hopefully you learn something from that experience that you take with you.
Yeah.
That's great. I love hearing the path that people take to where they are currently.
Yeah.
And there's not a clear path. I have not heard once someone said, I knew I wanted to go into real estate when I was younger, so I went to real estate school and I did these things. It's people stumble upon this type of work and they realize that everything prior to has actually prepared them for it.
Oh yeah.
And it sounds like you have just a variety of different experiences in work. Mm-hmm. That have led you to now. So Kleinman, was that where you were previously? 10 years.
Yep.
So talk about that transition from that, being the right-hand person to the CEO.
Yep.
To how did you end up here?
So part of it was I was just tired of being behind a desk 8 to 5. You know, I would sit, you know, sometimes I'd be so busy. I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off, but then there'd be days where you're slow and you're sitting there looking out the window going, I could be grocery shopping right now. I could be cleaning the kitchen. Like I could do other things. And so I just kind of got stale sitting. I guess that's the thing. That's maybe the word I would use is stale. I didn't, you know, even when projects were sent my way, they weren't like new projects. It just kind of became the same old things I'm fixing and this and that. And I just got bored more or less.
So transitions, oftentimes people, you know, something happens and then they, you know, either get let go or COVID. It sounds like there was kind of a slowly decline of interest in what you're doing.
Yeah.
So how long before you actually left did you start having these kind of thoughts?
So I had actually started looking for other jobs, I think almost 2 years before I made this change. But it was hard to find anything that really was going to change anything. I'm like, I take another office job. It's just, I'm going to learn everything and it's going to be the same thing. Yeah. So I was trying to find something different, a different field. But then I'm like, I don't want to go back to college. I don't know what I want to do. You know, just kind of that self-discovery for almost 2 years of what would make me happy. And then it's funny because it was winter of like, or, you know, fallish of 2019. And Chris had done that video where he's at someone's house on the lake and he's walking down the path asking if you feel trapped in your career and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And he gets out onto the deck and or on the dock and he's just talking about, you know, the scholarship program and getting out of a rut and this or that. And I was like, online now. I'm like, that's what I have to do. And I came in and I, of course, you know, talked to my husband about it and all, but I came in to meet Megan to find out about it. Yeah. And she's like, you know, I can tell you'd be a great agent. She's like, you know, do you want to move forward? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, do you need to talk to your husband about it? I was like, no, he's already on board. Just give me the forms. So.
And how long ago, when was that?
That was, so I officially think I signed those in like January or February. Started taking the classes. It might have been December. It was right, you know, sometime in 2019. Okay. So started doing the online training to get my license. And then as I was getting done with my training and getting ready to schedule my testing, COVID hit. Oh, okay. So my test got rescheduled 4 times. And it actually hit the whole shutdown and everything 2 days after I gave my boss my notice. And so he comes into my office and he's like, I can't hire anybody new and you can't go anywhere. He's like, can we prolong this until we figure things out? And I was like, yeah, I'll stay. You know, even if we can get somebody hired in, I can start training them, whatever. We were essential workers, so we were at the office because keeping apartments open and running was essential. But yeah, so I got delayed. I should have technically like started here in like March or April. Yeah. And I ended up being in the June 2020 training class. We were the first training class after COVID hit. Okay. I ended up, everybody in our class took our tests hours away. I took mine in Fargo, North Dakota. Yeah. It would have been a long drive home if I had not passed. Yeah. But yeah, took my test in Fargo, came back, and then we were in the hotel in June for training so that we were all sitting at our own table, like spaced out. Yeah. And we all, you know, shared our war stories of who drove the furthest to get their test taken. We were South Dakota, Iowa, Wisconsin. It was crazy.
So the kind of a windy path to get here. Mm-hmm. And you've been a successful agent. And like I said, you've had a variety of life and work experiences before getting here. So how many months have you been in it now?
So we're looking at 15, 16 months. Okay. Yeah.
And what do you know now at the time frame that you are now, the place where you are now? What do you know now that you wish you knew when you were getting started?
I would say number one, like be organized as you start taking clients and you have documents you're signing with them and information about them. Make sure that you're keeping that, whether you're doing it in follow box. I have a Dropbox and I have all my client files in like Dropbox. So I also have access to everything, but like knowing how to organize all of that, it's kind of hard to know when you don't know exactly what you're doing. But work on get yourself a system. Yeah. A system is important because as you start to grab a lot of leads and you get really busy, it'll get chaotic.
Yeah.
I dove right in because I had quit my job to come here. So I had no income, and I came from a pretty comfy income, and I was used to that. So I'm like, I got to make money and I got to do it now.
Yeah.
So I just went crazy grabbing leads right off the bat. I did go a little too nuts the first summer. I had a few moments where I was overwhelmed to the point where I was like, oh no. So my sales coach said, get yourself to your max and then pull back a step. And that's where you should work at.
That's kind of your sweet spot.
Yeah. And so that was great advice. So now I know my limit. I know what I can do, on my own. Obviously, if I wanted to do more, I could get an assistant and take it to the next level. But yeah, so kind of learn what your ability is. Push yourself to that limit.
Yeah.
And then pull back just a little bit to make it comfortable and know that about yourself. But don't be afraid to hit that limit.
Yeah. I'm hearing that another theme is kind of emerging too, is where some people are so safe and they really don't know what they can do. They don't know their full potential because they don't even try.
Yeah.
But I would say you were feeling that with your previous job.
Yeah.
Like you're what more is there for this? Like, so for 2 years you were in this space of, man,
I need something to challenge me.
I need a challenge. I need to see what I'm capable of.
Yep.
And it sounds like you've had that challenge here.
Yep.
And are successful in it. So I think that's great wisdom that we can pass on is, hey, I hate telling people that they need to burn out.
Right.
But sometimes you have to figure out how far you can go.
Yep.
And then kind of find that, wow, I was really living too safe.
Yep.
And then you can find a better rhythm to say, hey, here's optimal capacity for me.
Yep.
Here's too much. Here's not enough.
Exactly.
What keeps that in check for you? How do you know that you're in a space where, hey, this is my sweet spot?
It's kind of hard because when you are picking up leads, some of them may be a little less proactive in what they want to do. So, and then you'll have others that you pick them up and they're like, I want to buy a house as soon as possible. And they want to run you every single day and look at houses. So it's more or less just kind of feeling out your leads as you pick them up and knowing, also how to manage that. When I first started initially, I kind of was letting my clients drive me, figuring like whatever they asked for, I had to give them immediately, which was running my schedule, not me running it, and which got a little chaotic. You can tell a client, I'm not available at that time, but we could do this or this or this time and give them another option. So you can take control of it to a point, you know, obviously there's just some that you can't, but yeah, I think that's the main thing is just reading your clients and knowing, okay, I do have this one client right now that's going to be taking a lot of my time. So I probably can only have maybe 3 leads at this time. But if I have a few people that are just kind of spotty looking, I could maybe take 8 leads at this time and just kind of feeling that out by the clients you pick up.
You've already given a few good tips of, be organized, figure out what systems work best for you. It sounds like your job previous to prepared you if you're going to be doing all that admin work, doing all the detail-oriented stuff that you were doing. So I think for someone like you, it probably came a little bit more naturally.
Yeah.
I think that so you came in with that baseline of organization. And now another tip that you're just giving us is that, hey, you can run your own schedule. Say more about that for agents that might be feeling like, hey, I just got to say yes to everything all the time or else I feel like I'm not a good agent. Yeah. How do you overcome that, or how do you work through those times? Do you think that?
It's hard when you are customer service oriented. You just want to be helpful. But one thing that my sales coach had mentioned too, she's like, you need to take a day off every week. Like, don't work 7 days a week because that is too much for you. And when you do decide to take a day off, stick to that. Don't say, well, I could squeeze one showing in or this or that. You're taking your day off away from yourself. So if you do have to control both your work time and your personal time, because obviously you can't be good at your job if you don't have some fun in your life too. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you have to have your, family time. You have to have personal time. So just holding to that, use your calendar, 100% schedule it. And if it's on the calendar, it exists. So if it's a personal day and it's on the calendar, that exists. Yeah. So you're not going to take that away from yourself. And I'll still clients may text or call with a question on my day off, and that's a simple thing to do on your day off. But my day off is basically I don't schedule any listing appointments or showings on that day, so I can be running around the city doing what I need to do. So just kind of learning for yourself, how to balance that work-life relationship, and use your calendar. If it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist. I've heard that like a million times in every meeting here, and it is so true.
You mentioned your coaches, and in the way that we're doing this here, we want to create this culture of support. How have you felt supported by your coaches or anyone else in the organization just to help you succeed?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, if I have a question, we have the agent hotline, which is great. But then you also call your coach when you have questions. And if she doesn't know the answer, she'll help me figure out who should I be asking, where do I go with this? Which is great because things change a lot. Like in any company, one person's doing one thing one day and they're doing something else the next. So you're not always sure who to call. Yeah. But that your coach will help you keep that organized. The accountability groups are amazing because not only do you get to meet other agents, which is you should meet as many agents as you can. As you come into the company, like coming in here and working and meeting other agents, that's how you grow, because at first you'll be sitting in the room sucking up all the information, but then pretty soon you'll be answering other people's questions. Yeah. And that you learn more by teaching others kind of mentality. So having other agents to call is a plus. So if you don't network with them, you're not going to have that group of people to call. So networking is important so that you can get help. And but yeah, everybody's super fast to respond. If you have to email them, if you have to call them, and if they're not available, you usually get a text back. I'm in a meeting, get back to you or whatever. But I feel like, when I have a question, it gets answered.
I don't sense the interactions that we've had. I don't sense this, an aura of pride. I love how open you are with people, and just the fact that you said, when you teach someone, you're actually learning more. And we really want to lift that up and highlight that actually leads to success, not the scarcity mentality like, oh, I don't want to help them because then they're going to succeed. Right. It's this, hey, we want you to succeed, and we want to remove pride. We want to remove this sense of competition. Yeah. And really want to instill this culture of, hey, we're here to support each other and celebrate one another and their wins. Yep. Can you speak to that, how you've either experienced that or what you're doing to keep that part of the culture of, hey, you know what, I don't have time, but I will answer this, or talk about how are you helping, or how have you seen that culture of support and celebration and not competition?
Yeah, I mean, well, a really great example, I was getting ready to go out of town, and a client who was dormant kind of popped up and was like, hey, Julie, we do want to list now. We want to list ASAP. And I was leaving town in 5 days. And I thought, well, crap. I'm going to have to pull a miracle out of my hat. But I reached out and I asked Jen, do you have an agent? I've mentored new listing agents. I said, do you want to do this reverse? Do you have an agent who needs mentorship who could help me with this? And we'll get him his first listing. So she connected me, and we did a team effort on that listing. Yeah. And it was great to have that help. Like, I was in a bind and I got the help that I needed. Yeah. We split the commission, and, he basically said going forward, if he needs help down the road, he'll split one with me. So usually people, when you give to them, will give back in some way. And I mean, not necessarily that you're doing it to get something back, but it comes full circle. It always does. If you put good out there into the world and you help other people, good things are going to come towards you. It's just naturally happens that way. Yeah. So you may help 30 people out and only one of them comes back and gets you something, back, but you got something back out of that. You get, and I always I actually enjoy it if I have a few people that through accountability group I got paired up with that still text me to this day. One of them just texted me this morning. She's like, is it okay to wear jeans to an open house? And so I gave her an answer on that. But I enjoy, like, when they come to me with these questions, if I hear her open house went well, like, I take pride in that. Like, I helped her do that. That felt good,
Did she wear jeans?
I don't know. She just texted me this morning. So
she's like, are these pants okay?
Right.
That's funny.
But she had picked up her first open house last weekend, and she called me. She goes, I picked up an open house. Yeah. I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm like, okay, here's some steps for you, But
and
it
you're
is
not
funny.
Technically her coach.
Not at all. No.
Okay. But she feels
Like I would give her a good answer or
And-
that I respond.
And that's the thing. I love hearing stories like that because it doesn't make the doesn't make the news when someone's shooting these texts, but
Yeah.
that is what we want to create is this culture of like, hey, you have people that you can reach out to that are going to support you, even if
Yeah.
the questions seems insignificant.
Right.
And so I just thank you for helping create that culture here by
Yeah.
responding and being part of that person's, open house in
Right.
whatever way that you can be. Thinking about the newer agents or the people that are thinking about, coming to KLRE. And you've been here and you're successful here. Why KLRE for you?
Big part of it was the fact that, we get handed leads. Marketing myself is a little terrifying to me, I'll be honest with that. So
you'll leave that up for the arms and the billboard.
Yeah. Oh, Chris, when he did the contest last year and someone could win getting the billboard, I'm like, if I win that, can I give it to someone else? I'm like, I don't know if I want to be on a billboard. But yeah, so I I enjoy doing the work I do, but I'm not really one to boast or promote myself.
Yeah.
I just don't feel comfortable doing that. So, so that the fact that KLRE does so much marketing that it brings leads to us, that is a comfort zone for me.
Yeah.
And you'll get people who will complain about, well, the commission split is different. But when you add all that up, if you were an individual agent and you were getting your own photographers and doing your own marketing and getting nickel and dime that, you're costing some money.
And then the time that it takes.
And the time, and the creativity. Some people are very creative, so that's easy for them. But the creativity to do all of that, that is not a strong point of mine. I'm your type A organized person. I don't have a whole lot on the creative side.
So this place, it fits for you.
It really does.
Where you're at, and you're successful here, and I love that you're pouring back into other people.
Yeah.
One thing that I kind of want to go back to is that you take a day off and you make sure hey, you got to refuel in order to do this work.
Yeah.
What I hope people see is that doing this work is also energizing too.
Yeah.
Because I think when people think of work, they're like, oh, work, I need a vacation. If you love what you're doing, it's not that you probably should take a break, but sometimes you don't need to because you actually love what you're doing.
Right.
What do you love about this work that you're doing?
I love meeting new people. I like talking to people. So I enjoy, as I go out with each client and you learn about what drives them, it's so different from everybody.
Yeah.
I had two different clients want to see the same house on the same day. So I literally just showed one, they left, and I sat out there for half an hour and the next one showed up.
Yeah.
The feedback from both of them on that house, so completely different because their goals in life, their family style, everything's so different.
Yeah.
So I enjoy kind of hearing how other people live their lives.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see. Sometimes it's motivating because you're like, ooh, you do that? That sounds like fun. I should, go check that out myself or whatnot. But I just really enjoy learning about people and what makes them tick and how do they live their lives.
Yeah.
So that side of it for me, people always say list to last and get as many listings as you can, but I really love buying clients. I love buyers because I like spending time with them, going out to the houses, talking about stuff.
Yeah.
And you spend more time with your buyer clients. So I get to know the people a little bit better. Unless you have a listing that also buys, then you do the both. But and listings are good. You should definitely have listings, and I tend to do well with those too. But I really enjoy buyer clients.
I think what I'm hearing and as we've kind of gotten to know a little bit more about your pathway to here, it sounds like you are investing who you are into what you're doing.
Oh, yeah.
And when I just know this to be true, whether it's real estate or any other type of work that people might find themselves in, when you know who you are and you know how to apply who you are to what you're doing, it's life-giving. And so I just want to affirm that I've seen you interacting with other people. I love that you're involved in the accountability groups, and I just value what you're contributing to the culture here.
Thanks.
And if we could just think about what's one nugget of wisdom that you want to pass on to other agents or newer agents that might be trying to be pushing through a struggle or wondering hey, did I make the right choice? Am I in the right? 'Cause I'm sure you've thought
Yeah.
about that kind of
Yeah.
from when you started to now. What advice would you give them when they're kind of find themselves in that space?
I would say it's kind of similar to like what you said to me earlier. You don't know what you can do until you try. So if you feel like you're struggling, first ask yourself, am I really trying? Or am I sitting back waiting to dive in? Like, am I nervous do I have my toe in the water, or have I jumped in? And if you know that you are not all in, you're not giving it a true try. So bite the bullet, dive in, go for it.
Yeah.
You have so many people to back you up. You're not gonna fall flat on your face. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if something comes up that you don't know or you're confused about, you have so much help. You can call people, text people, whatever. So just go for it.
Go for it. Last question I want to end with. It sounds like this work gives you life, and you're spilling into the other agents and into your clients.
Yep.
When you are not buying or selling homes, when you're not here at KLRE, what fills you up? What do you do on those days off?
I spend a lot of time with my dogs. I love dogs.
What kind of dogs are they?
I have 2 border collie mix.
Okay.
We just actually.
I'm going to pretend like I know what that's. Oh, cute.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah. The furry ones. Yeah.
They're black and white and fluffy.
Ears and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, they have ears. But we just adopted a second one on Sunday, so I'm working through getting that lifestyle. But we love to, like, my husband and I like to go hiking and do different trails around the Twin Cities, and we bring the dogs with. So I like to be outdoors with my husband. He's huge into football, so we try to go to Vikings games when we can, or we may have people over to watch football games. I like football. I'm not like as hardcore as he is.
That's probably why you still have joy. Like, you're not a huge Vikings fan,
right? But I can watch a game, and I love going to the games. Oh my gosh, I can sing you the Skull song if we got a touchdown. So we like sporting events. Going out with our friends. We eat out a lot. I love trying new restaurants. I eat out like a crazy person. So yeah, that's kind of we're nothing huge. I don't have any, I have a book club. I should call it more of a wine club. Half the time, half of us.
Wine club with books.
Yeah, we have a book, and half the time, half of us haven't read it, but we still all get together every month.
I love that. I love that you are committed to the work that you're doing, but you're also committed to your life.
Yeah.
And that you don't make this job or this work your life. And so I think you are a great example of what it means to be successful here, but also as a leader and as an influencer, as a teacher. You are great at what you're doing. You enjoy it, and you bring life to people around you. So I just want to affirm who you are and what you're doing. And I want to thank you for your time, your wisdom. And there you have it.
Thanks, CJ.
Yeah.
This was fun.
Let's give it up for Julie Strecker. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.